So he's coming now. I'm a little behind. Today's been one of those busy days, just getting back from vacation. How is everybody?
Good.
Good, but
Really.
busy.
Good, good. I think Jennifer Lico was coming. Let me just message her really quickly.
Looks like. Oh,
I just had the hardest conversation that I've had since I started investing.
oh
Uh-oh.
wow.
hmm
What happened?
Well, quickly, because I know this is about minutes. um,
I am
so my,
still recording. I just had two note takers in here. I don't need that.
oh,
So,
no
but
problem. It's all good.
this will get trimmed down, so you don't need to worry about anything.
Okay. Um, a GC and the team is 3 months and 7 days over. And that means a $150 day penalty. So we're at about 15 grand. And I just got the rental license. And of course, I'd been having this conversation periodically so we wouldn't get to this point and have issues. And of course, he tried to push back and all this stuff. And I was just like, listen, I just kind of had to lay out all these things. And at the end of the day, I'm not paying you. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna withhold those funds. It's costing me $22,000. You're, I'm not paying you 15, so it's still costing me. Um, so anyway, it was just a very, very hard discussion.
Mhm.
Wowzers. How are you feeling?
Good because I, I normally would say, well, we can, no, I wasn't doing that. So,
Good.
yeah. And then at the end of the discussion, he's like, you know what? If I were in your position, I'd be doing the same thing.
Good
So,
for you.
yeah.
That's a celebration, right? Success comes from like being comfortable being uncomfortable,
Oh,
right?
for
And so
sure.
you are uncomfortable, and now next time you have to do it, it's not so uncomfortable. I've
I
done this
wasn't
before.
really uncomfortable. I was
Okay.
actually a little bit mad that he would even push back because they have cost me money on a previous project where, just based on how the contract was written, I ate the cost. I never asked them to discount their pricing or anything like that. And I just said, listen, we're in some deals together and I'm always eating up pieces that you guys like have caused, but because it's written a certain way, I've taken it on the chin. I expect you to do the same, you know.
Good for you. I'm
So
glad to hear it wasn't uncomfortable. When you said it before, I would have said, oh, okay, it's okay. And you didn't. I made an assumption that maybe you were uncomfortable. So good for you.
thank you.
Good for you. Nice job. That's a celebration, girl.
Yeah. 'Cause I thought I was gonna have to fight about this, and I'm glad that I don't. So, and I don't want to do that with them. I really like this team. And I just, I don't want to invite more conflict.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's what I'm most happy about.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Steve, you're here. I think he's in the car. Have a little bit of a crazy week just coming back from, he's on his way back from the laundromat. Um, so we have a little bit of a crazy day. Has a doctor's appointment in town here, and we didn't work all those details out when I just shifted it by the week. So, but he's here to answer the questions. He's actually the one. Are you able to come off your off mute and video, Steve? So even though you're in the car, that you're still.
I'm actually not in the car, but I am going to be eating, so I would rather
Oh,
not be off of video if
yeah.
that's okay.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that's okay.
it works out better that I can. I timed everything so that I don't have to be driving, so I can be a little more focused.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
eat,
can
and then
eat
as
on
soon
auto. I
as
can
you're
eat
done
on
eating,
autopilot.
yeah. Okay. So, okay, well, you're not focused on the road, so that's good.
No.
So, we have had lots of people ask us about how to get into laundromats. We absolutely love the laundromat business. And so, we wanted to just kind of share the high level stuff. And then we wanted to, the purpose of, um, the purpose of recording this is so that we can give it to other people. But I don't know why it's giving Steve the floor. I just need to make sure
Oh,
it's
we
gonna.
know why.
You are, but you're eating, so
Uh,
I got to do the talking. Just kidding.
I'm not eating yet. I'm sitting here quietly waiting.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get it for the best, but whatever. We'll work it out. Um, so essentially, we have been in the laundry business for, are we at 15 years now?
No,
14?
no, 12.
12 years. Okay. We've been in the laundry business for 12 years. We got into it, just the kind of the fun facts, because of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad cash flow board game. I played the game like 25 years ago. I lived in Southern California, and I was like, played the game with my ex-husband at the time and my parents. And I was like, I want laundromats. Laundromats are what this, like, when I played the game, that's what resonated with me, because real estate in Southern California didn't seem really attainable to be buying more real estate. I felt lucky to own my home. And so I was like, well, I need something different. So I want laundromats. Well, I was not married to somebody who was entrepreneurial at all. He's the poor dad, has a lot of money, but has the poor dad mentality, doesn't like to be in charge of stuff, just wants to elevate within, his existing corporate career. So when I Steve and I many years later started dating and got married, he was not happy in the grocery business. He'd been running grocery businesses for how long were you a general manager in grocery, Steve?
Like 15, 12 years. Yeah, about 12 years.
And had been in the business for about 25 years. So he'd seen big businesses, lots of waste, loss, employees, and all that kind of stuff. And I worked in corporate America working on big budgets and big projects. So we kind of, he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And I sent him to a laundry webinar. Like, it was not a webinar, it was like
No.
an in person seminar. It was
Yeah.
before Zoom existed. And so he went to that, and I was at a game for my son. My son had a little tournament for the weekend for baseball. So I was like, you should go to this and see what happens. I've always wanted to own a laundromat. So it was like years and years of always wanting to own a laundromat. So I sent him to this thing. And why don't you tell him about what happened when you were at the thing?
Well, the guys that we worked with, they had a really good presentation. They talked about, they didn't just talk about what works and what doesn't. Sorry, they didn't talk about just like what works. Like if you watch now like TikTok or Instagram, you see the laundry space influencers who just they show you, this is what I made at my laundromat for the week, and then they've got a you know a bill collector that they got a bill collector, that's full of money, and they just open it up and they pop out the money, and then that's what they made, and they make it sound like it's this, you just go in, collect the money, and leave. And these guys, they gave us the other side of it. They gave us the pitfalls. They gave us the the backed up drains and the broken machines and the the dirty side, so to speak, of it. And then they offered, here's how we help you avoid those things when you're buying one. So they had a really good way of presenting it, and it was pretty much, we need to do this. I called her immediately and I was like, we have to do this. This is our path.
How do we get $100,000? I think was what you said.
Yeah. How do we get $100,000 to do this?
So we pulled $100,000 or $50,000 loan from my 401k, and we went to Bank of Dad, and I borrowed another 50 from my dad. And that was what we needed to get into the business. At the time, Steve, wasn't that 50% of what was needed for the deal to work based on the sale of the
Yeah,
because we financed the rest.
It was pretty close. Yeah, I think we ended up financing about $120,000.
And then we also had to go for another set of financing for the new equipment, right?
No, we didn't. We didn't put new equipment into that store.
Oh, okay. See, he's much better memory than I have. So that's what we did to get into our first laundromat. And because we didn't have to buy equipment, it was relatively lucrative, wasn't it? Because we didn't need to buy equipment, Steve.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a good shop because we had to do some work, but it wasn't. Also, it was cosmetic. That's where I spent all the money. We paid for that as we went. So since we didn't have to put in any new equipment, it was there were no loans except for the loan for the business itself.
Okay, so one thing that has helped Steve and I be very successful in this business, and it's even taken it to, we have partners in the one that we bought last year in Northern Arizona, is that Steve is willing to build walls, move walls. There, that gets expensive. Like, we all know that from the multifamily world, that when you're doing construction, it gets very expensive. Well, Steve's willing to do it himself. He's not a general. He's a sorry, honey. He's a handyman. He's not like a general contractor. He doesn't have any formal training. But sometimes he build a wall and he's like, that wall looks terrible. I'm like, it's a laundromat. Nobody cares. It's not the Ritz Carlton. So it's very forgiving to go, build a wall. But Steve was fine to go try and do things and watch YouTube videos, and he would go try and clear a line. And if he couldn't clear the line, then we called maintenance. He would try and change out the handles, and the handles are relatively easy. That's a bad example because he is handy. But managing your maintenance costs is a big part of saving the money in this world. It's very expensive. They're specialists. If you have kids that are looking for jobs, go get them certified with these companies, because they make a grip of money. There's not a lot of competition in the space for commercial laundromat repairmen, and so they charge a grip of money. So the more you can do yourself, the better it is for your business, because you're managing the bottom line. And so that's why when we're looking for partners, we want to know that there's somebody on the ground that's willing to do those things. And if they're not, then we're not interested in partnering, because we don't want to pay those expenses. And we know that's where a lot of the money is made, is from being willing to do it yourself.
Excuse me.
Anything
Yeah,
to
it's
add,
it's
Steve?
yeah, it's not a business that you can. It's not a business that you can run 100% remote. You have to have somebody who is available. Plus, unless you're just taking credit cards, then you are
You're doing
entrusting.
that.
Then you're entrusting your cash to somebody who might not have your best interest at heart.
So that's where, if you have partners, you want to make sure you can trust your partners that every penny gets into the bank. So when Steve and I, it was just the two of us in San Diego. I didn't worry. He didn't worry. Whoever did the collection took the money to the bank, and we didn't have like a system. When we were leaving San Diego, we spent a lot of money on equipment that tells us exactly every penny that's in there. And we do have an employee that we trust to pick up the cash and take it to the bank. And we're watching very closely, and we are on camera watching what's going on when they're doing the collections. So we know we're watching. So we trust her. I'm sure there's been a couple times where she's done the collection and we weren't available to watch, but we're watching, because, but like our partners in Northern Arizona, they're not watching Steve. I don't think. I mean, they have, I don't think they need a day
They don't have
before.
access.
Yeah. So you do have to have a high level of trust with whoever you're working with. So, our other stores, when we sold that first store and we bought two more that were closer to us, they were just much closer geographically, and we were offered a lot of money we thought we were getting a lot of money for this first deal. We didn't realize that the guy across the street's shop was closing. We didn't know that piece of information. We probably could have gotten more out of him. So we sell that store. We were quite happy with the paycheck. We turned it into two new stores, and both of those stores, Steve, needed equipment, didn't they? Or was it just a university?
They both needed it. Well, university needed dryers because it was down to about 5 working dryers, and those had to be replaced. Otherwise, we weren't going to be able to be in business. So, so we had to replace the dryers there. At the other store, we didn't have to, but because there was everything that was there was working, but everything that was there was incredibly old and out of date for, what was it, 2017? Like it was equipment from the late 90s, early 2000s. So it was costing money in utilities. It was costing money in downtime because of maintenance, parts availability, that kind of thing. So although it wasn't a necessity like it was at the other store, it was to a different degree.
Okay, we'll get to that in 1 second. I just want to share that the second you take out equipment loans, everything gets very expensive because the bank will write the 250, 300, 400, $500,000 loan, depending on how big the store is and how much you need. They will write you a loan, but they want it paid off in 7 years. So 7 years eats up your cash flow. So when Steve and I first did that, I was working a job that paid 6 figures. And Steve, what were you making, like $1,000 a month after?
Yeah, it wasn't much. It
Like
wasn't
it was
much.
like you're not going to live on that, right? But after 7 years, all of those bank payments that you're no longer making is cash in your pocket. So it can be a real struggle if you have to do new equipment. So we'll get to your question in just a second, Melinda. And I don't have a problem if you guys come off mute and ask questions. This is casual. So you have to like be ready for that. And that was part of one of the things when I thought about, okay, if I want to start doing this with partners, maybe we need to raise the money for the loan on the equipment. Maybe we can finance some of the other stuff, but the equipment loans, maybe I fund that with a group of partners so that we're paying cash for that and we can get some ROI right away. So that was like a structure thing that I come up with because of the academy. The academy helped me come up with that idea. Like, how do you do this? Because you're not going to have people that want to drop $100,000 into a deal and then not get paid for 7 years. Who wants that? Like,
Right.
Nobody wants that. Did you have a question, Cara?
Yeah, is the 7-year term pretty standard, or is it less?
It is.
Is it like 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, or?
7 years
They're
pretty
they're
standard,
typically 7.
but they oftentimes don't have. It depends. The lender, we use the same people. We've been using the same people for 12 years. They don't have a prepayment penalty. Sometimes, so you have
No,
to. You
they
have
don't
to pay
usually
attention.
have it.
Yeah.
And have you all used an SBA loan before at all, or in any of your?
No, they're very difficult to actually. They're very difficult to actually get in the laundromat space
And
because
a lot
it's
of times you don't own the real estate. They like when you own the real estate.
And it's unverifiable because it's mostly it's unverifiable information.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very hard to get good information that when the banks want to underwrite this stuff, they don't love the way that you underwrite a laundromat because you're not looking at somebody's tax returns. You're looking at a couple weeks worth of collections. Okay, so Steve, Melinda had a question around when do you know that you need to replace equipment? I'm going to let you speak to that because that is not my forte.
There's a couple different ways to look at that. If you have equipment that has parts readily available, oftentimes generic, which is fine. If you have equipment that's older that hasn't maybe been used that much because it's been a laundromat that hasn't been living up to its potential, you can get a little more life out of it. It's not just the age of it. It mostly has to do with how much does it cost to operate it. The reason that you'd want to replace equipment that maybe you don't think you need to is the reason that you would want to replace it even if you don't think you need is because the utilities, your water especially, your water is your number one cost for utilities. Water is easily the most expensive part, and the washers use a lot if they're older. Newer ones, you can set how much water you want to use. You can set how long the cycles run for, how many rinses. You can charge more for more rinses. You can do a lot with the newer equipment. So it's kind of it's a question that you have to answer on an individual store basis. What are you trying to accomplish? What do your partners want to accomplish? Do you want to have the newest store in town? Do you want to attract that customer? Do you want to just keep doing the maintenance and cash flow as much as you can? It's all there's no one answer fits all.
The other thing too is that sometimes you want bigger equipment. Like some stores just don't have, like we put in 80-pound machines in one of our stores and it was more than paying the loan when we brought that in because it brought more people in because they liked the equipment that it was bigger. 80 pounds, you can do a lot of laundry in an 80-pound machine. And so when we put those in, it just brought in so much more business that sometimes it's about the size distribution of equipment that you have. And then also too, fill me in, Steve, if I'm saying this wrong, but
Huh?
you buy your equipment in banks. So you have 5 machines that are 2 loads and maybe 6 machines that are 3 loads, and you buy them in banks. And when they're installed, they don't tend to, it's not like you swap out a single machine at once because one is broken. So for a long time, we had a bank of machines that had one bank that the repairs were so expensive that we kind of just left it out of order all the time. That's not a good thing. That's not a good look in a laundromat. You generally don't want to do that, but there was so much life left in the other machines and the turns on it were fine. We made that decision to do that. But sometimes it's like when you end up with 2 or 3 machines that are just really expensive repairs, then you're like, you know what? It's time to change out the whole thing. And you're changing out all 5 or 6 machines because 2 or 3 of them are bad and it's just going to cost too much.
So the trend now is to not necessarily do your machines. Newer stores don't necessarily always do their machines in banks like that.
Okay.
Partially for that particular reason is they'll put so it'll be a row of maybe 10 machines. Let's use that, and then 4 of them on the outside. The 2 on either side would be a 4 load, and then the 2 next to that would be a 6 load, and then the 2 left over in the middle would be the 8 loads. So it wouldn't have that flush look. It would be a staggered look. But that a lot
You're breaking up a little bit,
where
Steve. Can you
it's a
say
bank of
what that?
machines.
Steve, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat that again? Of how it's not the flow look, but it's the little bit choppier look. But what does it do?
Staggered.
Yeah,
It just
but
it just changes the look of your store, but it also takes away that need to replace, because typically if you do a bank of machines, no, that's the other thing is you have to have most of the time they have to have a metal base depending on the size of the base.
yeah.
The steel bases were an entire row, so it was holding 5 machines at once, and you couldn't just replace one machine because of that base. So now they've gone to single bases every machine to kind of eliminate that need. But you're not going to see that dividends of your machines that are put on them start failing.
Okay. So Steve, you're saying that, but if you were to buy an older one of like, if
You'd
somebody was
replace
to buy one of,
replace by the bank most likely, yes.
yeah, until you get to the newer style machines.
Correct.
Right. And so you wouldn't be able to pop out a single machine in the middle of our banks and use one of these individual things. So there is
No.
some in the older generation of stuff, which is most of the stuff that you guys would be buying right now would be
There's some restrictions.
that kind of thing. Yeah. And so, but when you go to retool, you might do it differently. Especially if you're retooling a whole bank, you might do it more modern style. So did that answer your question, Melinda? It is not straightforward. I think you walk into a store, Steve is very good at this, and you can say, wow, this whole place needs to be like, there's nothing left of this place. And you can walk into some places and be like, this all looks pretty good. And then you have the gray area, and you may, like our one of our stores, we had to replace all the dryers. It was obvious, but we didn't have to do much to the washers. I think we dropped like $10,000 or $15,000 into bunch of repairs.
It was about $10,000 in deferred maintenance.
Yeah, and so we just did a bunch of repairs to get everything working well enough.
I have a quick question about maintaining them. In the beginning, is it the type of thing that, if a machine has an issue, is it the type of thing where you can go onto YouTube and try and figure it out yourself? Or are you definitely calling people constantly for service? Because my husband thinks, these machines that we're in contract for are pretty new. They haven't had any issues. And they have a yearly maintenance program. But if something were to go, he's thinking he can just hop on YouTube like he does for our home, dryer and try and fix it. And with everything online.
100% correct.
Okay.
100% correct. Yes. Parts
It
are readily
depends on
available.
how handy you are.
Yeah,
Well,
no, he's pretty good, but
Yeah.
because I'm thinking it gets expensive if you have to call them for every little thing.
it does, but the parts are readily available. Oftentimes parts cost more than, that's the other thing you get with new equipment though, too, is you typically get a 5-year warranty. Um,
Steve, turn off your video. You're breaking up really bad. I love your beautiful, amazing face, but we can't hear you. So can you just turn off your video? It might be better.
Yeah, sure. I won't be, but it is what it is.
It does
Welcome
help.
welcome to the mountains.
Oh, I don't know where you're driving. Are you in the mountains already? Okay,
Close.
Oh, that didn't work. You pressed, I think, the mute button.
I know. I've got somebody who doesn't know how to use the roundabout. Sorry.
Oh. You're in Sedona then, aren't you?
No, I'm on the 260 going down to Birdie.
Gotcha.
But anyway.
Okay, so yes, you can do the other thing too, because again, we started this before YouTube was around. If you find again those commercial repair guys, they're very busy. They don't mind if you're nice to them and you look over their shoulder and ask some questions. They might charge you a little bit more because they're spending more time with you, but they don't care if you're doing a bunch of the little stuff because they know that you're not going to be soldering motherboards. They know that it builds the
changing
loyalty.
out bearings.
And they don't have a scarcity mindset around work. So it's like, if I can teach this guy to change out 3 or 4 things on his own, I know he'll call me for the big stuff and I know he's around for the long haul, but they don't have a lot of competition. So they're usually pretty generous if you're there over their shoulder and asking questions and really nice about it. You want to find the one that is. You might have some grumpy dude that isn't, but we were very blessed in San Diego with somebody who taught Steve everything because YouTube did not exist before. And
not in the way that it does now, for sure.
Yeah. And Cara, I wanted to mention on the 7-year loan that you asked about, I wanted to share the reason these loans are 7 years is the lifetime of this equipment is 20 to 25 years. But once it's past 7 years, the bank doesn't want to repo anything older than that if you don't make your payments. So they're all set up for 7 years because they don't even want to repo something that's 5 years old, but the industry standard became 7. And so that's why they do 7. Go ahead, Cara. And then I think Melinda, you had a question too.
I was going to ask if you all could talk about 2 things. One, thinking about the team that repairs, those folks. I can't remember my question, so I'll just switch really quickly. How much or how would you approach? So, for example, I'm looking at finding a laundromat in my hometown where I have boots on the ground. And I would have someone to kind of be that person. Should I think about a percentage payment? Should I think about flat fee? Should I think about salary? How would you all navigate that?
It can be done however you want. We have, like, on our current laundromat, Steve is taking a percentage, and the group agreed that because we are both owners and the manager, that we wanted to make sure that we were making the best decisions for the laundromat and not for, like, if you take out a loan and the revenue goes down and the manager is going to make less money, they could make decisions to not replace things because it's going to affect their revenue. So we made a decision that the revenue percentage was going to be based on the gross sales. So it doesn't matter what we're doing. We're always going to pay X percent and we're always going to make the best decision for the laundromat.
Okay.
Right. But if this is not somebody who is a part owner and it's different when you're managing and making all the decisions and somebody else is maintaining. I think it also depends on what it is that you expect them to do, because we had a situation in San Diego where we had considered selling 20% of our laundromat that we didn't have a general manager at when we were moving, because we wanted boots on the ground with somebody that we trusted. And the team that we had together, two of them didn't live in San Diego either, but very interested in the laundromat. And the other couple, the husband was going to take care of a lot of the stuff. And then when we came up with our full to-do list, which we're happy to share that with you, it's just like everything from, you're the backup. If somebody doesn't show up to work, guess what? You're working a laundromat shift. You know, like
That's what I do.
You know, like
That's what I do
Steve's
currently.
doing that in a few weeks, and we have it set up on this deal that Steve is paid $50 an hour. He's not paid minimum wage, right? That's not like, we're not minimum wage workers. So we made it what makes sense to us, that we felt was a fair deal, knowing it also shouldn't happen very much if you have the right team in place.
Right.
So Steve is going to go in for a 6-hour shift, and it's whatever, $50 an hour. So that's, you know, seems fair to us. We could bill higher for our time in other parts of life, but we're not trying to gouge the business. So we came up with that. But what we had come up with was like a fair rate for our staff from our other store to come help fill the gap where this person maybe wasn't available or didn't want to do things. And we went through the whole list of things, and there was more that he didn't want to do than he did want to do. So we were like, Steve was actually in the middle of having, he was recovering from pretty significant surgery. And so I'm like, I need to talk to Steve. I'm like, but right now, the list of what you're willing to do and the impact it's going to have on our other business, and pulling the staff members over for a lot less money than what we were going to pay them to come over and do all of this other stuff. We could just have them do all of it and not give up 20% of our business. And so we made the decision to not sell and just use our own staff, because the possible partner just didn't want to do enough of the dirty work. It is not sexy work. Pays nice. Like we make very good money in all 3 of our laundromats. And so to us, we think it's great. Some people don't want to clear drains. They don't want to deal with homeless. They don't want to deal. Now, there is, you know, you want to be careful what neighborhood that you're in, because your neighborhood is going to reflect the types of problems that you have. But we have a laundromat that is in what used to be one of the roughest parts of the city of San Diego. And we had 2 issues, and we've owned that store since Daniel was born, right? 10 years.
10
almost
years.
11. And we've only had 2 issues. Huh?
I said 10 years.
Yeah. So, and so we only had 2 issues. A homeless person threw a brick through the window, and, 3 things. The second one was, somebody assaulted somebody in the store, and they needed footage. The cops needed footage to be able to press charges. And Steve was actually you were pushed down, like you were turned in the room, in the broom closet. Some guy
Yeah.
So that's the third thing that
Vaguely remember.
happened in 10 years.
4, and somebody kicked in a door. So
Yeah.
not too bad.
So that's the worst that's happened. I don't know what it is about. You don't want bathrooms in really tough areas. You want to not make your bathroom available, because we've had friends in the industry who've had people they're doing drugs in the bathroom. They're setting the bathroom on fire. It's just like, so that location, we just say there's no bathroom. It's behind 2 locked doors. There's no sign that says bathroom. We just say it doesn't exist. Technically, we could probably get called out for it.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask, is that a zoning issue or regulation or? Okay.
I don't know what the
For
exact
what?
regulation is for bathrooms.
I don't believe that we're required to have it. I mean, it depends on your city, though. I mean, I don't know about it. I don't think the city of San Diego requires us to have a public restroom.
Okay.
I looked into
And
it
it's
years
very
ago,
easy.
but it's, but most people that are going to your laundromat are not interested in going to the government for anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And usually bathrooms are related to food places. I mean, the required bathroom
There
is.
could be a requirement. We haven't had a problem. Nobody's ever said anything, or like officially. I'm sure people have said, you must have a bathroom back there, like to the workers, but we just tell them that I'm sorry, there's no bathroom. There's no functioning bathroom. Sorry. And we have a sink on the floor so they can wash their hands and stuff. And so from sanitary reasons, there's soap and sinks available to them outside. There's just no toilet. So yeah. So what else? There was a couple other things I was thinking about. Customer service in a laundromat. Okay, the other issue that we had in this area was people miss. So parking is one of the number one things you want to make sure your laundromat has good parking, because people do not want to park their car 3 blocks down and carry their laundry in. So parking lots are like the first thing that you want to look at. We had a problem with some parking in that same neighborhood, and we tried to be friendly because we didn't need that. It was a very big parking lot. We didn't need all of it, but they were not monitoring their own people, and so we worked with a tow truck company and just started towing people, and that stops the problem. We just are, and they'll put the signs up, so it doesn't cost you anything to tow. It costs them to get their car out. So we tried for multiple years. We tried to work with the neighborhood agency that was using our parking, and we said if they can park not right next to the laundromat and use the far side, that's fine. And we tried and we called and we said, we're having a problem, we're having a problem. And then we finally called and sent a letter and said, as of this date, we're starting to tow. Your people are impacting our business. We're trying to provide a service to the community, and it's, we're not willing to do this anymore. You guys are not managing it or helping us to manage it. So let your guests know that they will starting to get towed. And we had the tow company put up the signs, and we just our staff know to just pick up the phone and call. I think, and actually, if you get a good tow truck person, they sit right there and watch to see that if they walk into the laundromat with they won't tow the people that they walked into the laundromat with their laundry, but they're towing the people who park and then walk across the street, and so they'll just drive up and tow them. So the smart ones are standing there with their tow truck parked a block or so away, and that's how they make their money. And so that's what that turns into. But customer service in laundromats is pretty easy. Cleanliness is probably one of the number one. Parking is another one. The machines being in service. You don't want to have 3-4 machines that are out. And then, the questionable whether or not you need to have things like Wi-Fi and a little arcade. It depends on the neighborhood. TVs are kind of a thing of the past now that everybody has their phones. Nobody really needs or wants to watch the TV in the laundromat anymore.
Yeah, you don't do TVs anymore. I mean, some people do for advertising, but every time I see somebody putting a TV in their laundromat, I'm like, why? Like, everybody has a phone, so they get their entertainment that way. The Wi-Fi depends on your neighborhood, because if you're in a high homeless neighborhood, then you're going to have a lot of homeless hanging out. So typically, like, we don't have Wi-Fi or anywhere to charge a phone or anything at one of our stores because we don't want people hanging out there.
Yeah, you do have to shoo the homeless away, as sad as that sounds. If they're in doing laundry, we're respectful and allow them to do their laundry because they're customers too. But when they're done with their laundry, or they're not doing any laundry and they just want to linger, because you don't want super comfortable seating in those parts of town. Other parts of town, can have couches, like leather, like faux leather couches for comfort, because it's in an up and coming hip area that doesn't have a huge homeless problem. If you do that in a homeless neighborhood, you'll have the homeless sleeping when you're not attended, the homeless will be sleeping on the couch. So it's very uncomfortable. Sometimes they even design them with a slant so you can't lay down on them, or they're the bucket seats where they're the plastic bucket, like in the air, kind of like similar to an airport, but less comfortable. They'll do those kinds of things. So, and folding space is another thing. And knowing that you have the right mix of washers and dryers, because you don't want everybody to come out with their washed stuff and not have a dryer to go to. So customer service is really easy. They also want it safe. That's why we have full camera systems in all of our systems, and we put, that way the trouble doesn't go where they're monitored. For laundromats in the neighborhoods that they're in, I have the personal belief that there is not a lot. They're low crime for what it is that you're doing and the amount of cash you have in your change machine. Change is the other thing. Having a change machine or cards, the card systems. Not all neighborhoods can handle a card system because some people are very cash-based mentality. They don't trust the banks. They want their cash, and they don't want their last $5 locked up on a card. If they're using an EBT card, that's fine, because that's just like going to the grocery store. But if you have a card system where you pay $1 for the card, kind of like Dave and Buster's, and then you go play, and then now you got $5 left, well, that card can't be used at the grocery store. So they sometimes need those $5 for some other necessary thing. They don't want to wait till the next week to use it. So card stores don't historically do great in low income areas, because they don't want. So we have a blend of both, where it's card readers and change. We don't have any true laundry card systems. A lot of the there's a lot of, not the industry, I would say, kind of like used car salesmen. There's some icky people in the industry. And so their attitude is, oh, and then they lose the card and you get the $5. Steve and I are not like that. We're here to serve people. We're not trying to take people's extra $5. Like, use the services, come back to our laundromat. But there are just some icky people that are, skimming a lot of money off the top of their stuff. And that's why you can't use tax returns in this industry to do the due diligence on a laundromat, because, well, how much money did you really make? We've even gone in, was it us or a story? I don't remember, that somebody who was stuffing quarters in machines.
Oh, wow.
Nobody
during due diligence.
Nobody that we've had anything to do with. That was just
That
from
was one
somebody
of
else.
Chuck's stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of the due diligence is making sure, like, we're going to empty out all the machines, and then in a week later come see how much all the machines have in them. Well, somebody could stand there and shove quarters into the machine and, cancel whatever it is and stuff quarters in there, because they want their sales to be higher, so that the sale of the property is higher. Well, that's why you have to know what the water rates are and what the water usage should be, and you're comparing that to the sales and the number of turns that would turn into. So doing due diligence on a laundromat is a little dodgy, because you cannot trust people. And it's sad. I mean, Steve and I are like, we want to live with ourselves at night. We have multiple years of our weekly collections. When we go to sell our stuff, it's going to be a very clean, honest thing, but I still expect them to not trust me, because the industry isn't super trustworthy. It's kind of sad to say, but that's just FYI. You're dealing with a bunch of people who want to evade paying their taxes. I'd rather pay my taxes and sleep at night. I don't want to go to jail.
Because if you review tax returns and the numbers work with the tax returns, then it's golden. Then anything else that they're skimming off the top.
Yes, but you just want to make sure you're looking at the P&Ls, like, just because
for sure.
I don't know. I would still probably do collections to see what the numbers look like and verify things. I don't know. I just,
if you found somebody who had accurate, so when and if we go to sell this Northern Arizona laundromat, whenever that date comes, our tax returns are going to match perfectly, because we have partners. We're not. There's no taking any cash out. There's no games, because I'm not going to play games with people that have invested with me. But our other one it's 3 stores and a pickup and delivery business under the same corporation. You're never going to figure out what's what, ever. You'll never figure it out. So at that point, if you were to buy one of our laundromats, you would have to look at the numbers that we've kept and do the collection, the bills, and verify those numbers yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on how messy things are. And our Steve and I stuff in San Diego is messy. It's just the two of us.
Yep.
Like, our numbers, but somebody else would not necessarily. Like, we do our deposits, and like, we deposit in the bank. We have spreadsheets, but when the deposit goes in, it's both stores at once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like our regular.
You're never going to see it.
So that's
you're never going to separate it.
Right. That's another thing for us to talk about, is how do you know what your revenue is? There are a lot of people in the Facebook groups that will tell you that the revenue is what you take out of the change machine. That is not your revenue. That is your bank. That's like a bank. All it is they put their $20 in and they get $20 worth of quarters out. They might spend $5 of quarters in your store and pocket the $15 for next week. But now you've got an extra $15 in your change machine that is not revenue. you have to look at the quarters that are in the machine. Does that make sense to everybody? The
Yeah.
quarters in the machine is your revenue, not what's in the change machine. So
you
our
only
deposits,
count machine revenue.
so looking at somebody's bank deposits, they're interesting or telling of what's going on, but it's not the revenue. You might want to still look at their bank deposits to verify a couple things, but like one of our stores in San Diego grows coin and the other one decreases in coin because it's near a bus stop. And what do people do at the bus stop? Oh, I'm going to get some change because I need to do laundry at my apartment. So they'll stop in our store and use our beautiful customer service of always having coin. And when our staff is there, they chase them away. They say, "Where's your?" We actually turn the machines off because it's such a problem at that store. And coin these days is annoying because some of the banks want to charge for it. You have to order it. You can't just walk in and be like, "Can I get $3,000 worth of quarters?" They don't have that sitting there. They have to order it. So it's a pain for us to do it. So we just tell our staff member, when you're there, turn off the changer and shoo the people away. When he's not there, because we're not fully staffed, when he's not there, we're still losing quarters. But we shoo away people that don't have their laundry ready to be done. And where's your laundry? And they're like, "It's over there. Show it to me." Oh, and then they walk out. They know what we're up to. So they pretty much, most of the time, if it's the frequent flyers, if they see Edgar working, they don't even walk in because they know he's going to figure them out. They look, "Oh, he's not there. I can grab my $20. But the coin is heavy and it's hard to get. And we bank with Chase Bank specifically because they don't charge you for bringing coin in or taking coin out, because people will bring you 25 pennies and ask for a quarter. Here's two. So you end up with a lot of other coin too. It's not nearly as common as the quarters, but you end up with bags of separated coin, and you want a bank that isn't going to charge you money every time you want to do a bank deposit or withdrawal of coin. So Chase is the only one we know of. We didn't shop around that much. We're already with Chase, but we've heard a lot of people complain that their banks don't allow it without it costing. So that's something to look into as well. There was something else I wanted to share, and I forget what it is. Any question? Okay, so Melinda, Steve has a question. If an old laundromat is for sale but has not been functioning for a period of time, what are the things that you want to look into when purchasing? We just had this situation come up here in Flagstaff, and we decided not to move forward with it because one of the things when you take over a completely dead laundromat that has not been functioning is you have no idea what the revenue potential is. And so that's where it's a little scary. So, it's like starting over. And just like in multifamily, the longer the equipment has been sitting idle, the longer the mechanicals all end up having problems. So what are your thoughts, Steve? Anything else?
It's just similar to what you just said, but when we were looking at that is the equipment, it needed all new equipment. It was a store of almost 100% top load machines, a few front loads that were ancient, and dryers that needed to be replaced, obviously. So it was a complete retool. And you're talking minimum of $250,000 in equipment. And a $3,000, a $2,500 to $3,000 a month payment for your equipment on top of your rent. Like, that's just out the door. You're looking at those numbers and you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work, because I have no idea what this business did before. I don't know what the business did. So, to invest that much money, yeah, you gotta really know your area. You gotta really know your demographics. If it was something in the San Diego area that I'm intimately familiar with, and I came across something like that, I could look around, I could see the competition, I could know that yes, this is going to work, or no, this isn't going to work. One of the deciding factors in Flagstaff was there's no parking. It's on a street. It's just it's on a sidewalk, basically. It's near downtown. It's a great location, but there's nowhere to park. So what is that going to do to me in the wintertime when the sidewalks are iced up? Am I gonna be able to make the $6,000 a month just to pay for the equipment and my rent? Like, that's before any staff and before any utilities, and so not knowing anything about what that place did before, and previously I'd found out that it was owned. The laundromat was run and owned by a family member of those who owned the building, so they most likely weren't even paying any rent. So, or it was a very minimal rent kind of thing. So there's all these red flags as to why this is not a good idea, despite the allure of being in downtown Flag with a brand new laundromat. Like, that sounds amazing, but for where this location was, it wasn't it. So again, every one of them is its own. Every one of them is its own thing. When we looked at that one in Houston, Liz, and the landlord I don't even remember all the specifics around what the landlord was like. No, we're not. They didn't want to share any financial information.
And they had shared water meters.
Yeah, shared water meter.
You can't verify the usage of your water and your sales to make sure somebody's not stuffing quarters into the machine. And so we're like, well, we need some more information.
And they wouldn't give us access to the cameras.
We asked for access to the cameras. So and they gave us no way to do due diligence.
Yeah.
And so our attitude is, okay, we'll skip it. We'll find one that works.
Find one that works.
Okay. So we have never started a laundromat from scratch. If you do, you need to really understand your market. Because if you think about it, in these older neighborhoods, there might be, let's say, 5 laundromats right now. And of all 5 laundromats, everyone has their favorite, and there's pieces of pie. Some people might have a bigger slice of pie based on the newer equipment or proximity or parking or whatever it is. And all those laundromat owners are sharing those customers. You don't get more low-income areas being built. All the stuff that's being built that's new all has washer and dryers in it. Not to say that they don't use a laundromat here and there, but they're not your bread and butter. So if you go into an area that's got 5 busy laundromats and you put a 6th laundromat in, you may take away from a lot of the others because you're newer. But at some point in time, the neighborhood can't really support a 6th one. So you may put somebody out of business. It's just dodgy. On top of it, the equipment loans are very expensive. Like Steve was just saying, if you're starting from scratch, and you need to look into sewer impact fees. They charge you in California and I believe Arizona, you're looking at about $5,000 per drain that you need. So it's just, again, it's a lot of expenses. And so it's kind of like, we've just always had the attitude that we're going to do what has been done by an existing laundromat and retool it. We did have a thought for about 6 months ago. So we bought this laundromat. Steve now knows the area really well in northern Arizona. Had no idea such a small town could actually it outperforms our other 2 laundromats, the one in this small town. We're shocked. We knew it was going to be good, but we had no idea it was going to be this good. So it's been a great laundromat, and we're learning what's happening in the neighboring towns that's positively impacting our revenues. So Steve's like, I think we need to build the laundromat. First time we've ever said, the words have never come out of our mouth, let's build a laundromat. Steve said, I think we need to build a laundromat in Camp Verde. And we told our partners, and we started kind of looking into it, but not super heavy. This was about 6 months ago. And we started to revive let's look into it. Let's see what would happen. We want to do it with them because the revenue streams they're competing. There would be somewhat of competition. We didn't feel right doing it without them. So we were looking at it. We were looking at buying a place. We were looking at all these different things. And then all of a sudden, Steve sees somebody's already putting one in. So we know that one will do well. But if they overbuild, if they put too many machines in, they're going to struggle. There is a tipping point where the equipment loans are not worth you're not going to make enough money. So we're not worried about it mega influencing our business, but it will definitely take those customers from that area. They don't want to drive 20 minutes to a laundromat if it's right there and it's new.
Liz,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Liz.
That's okay.
Fortunately, not a ton of business comes from there.
Okay. When is there a formula for, like what does a laundromat trade for? Like what's the multiple typically on the NOI or the gross, or like, once we are able to do a little bit of underwriting and we can figure out or back into numbers, I know it's dodgy, but if we feel like we're dealing with something that we've got that, is accurate and relevant or as close as we're going to get, are we looking at a multiple of 2, 3, 4, 5? Like, how do we think about that? Is there a best practice or is it just kind of all over the place?
I'll let Steve speak to that. Oh, goodness. We can't hear you. I'll speak to that and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I only got every other.
Oh, I think you only got every other word I said.
Yeah, we're only getting every other word of you.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I need about 60 seconds.
Okay. So I'll just get started on that. I believe it's 2 to 4.5, 5. And the factors that you're looking at is how old is the equipment and what do the lease terms look like?
Okay, sorry, I'm back now. Are we
Okay.
talking about what a multiplier is for the price of the business based on the net?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So most laundromats are typically going to be, like she said, between a two and a 5. But a five times multiplier is going to be rare. The things you're looking for is age of the equipment, and the big things are the age of the equipment and the lease, and what the possible potential is. Like if they're maxed out, if they're doing drop off, fluff and fold already, and their vend prices, the vend price is what you charge per wash. If their vend prices are already up there with the competition, and if they're already maxing out what they can do to bring in revenue, then that's a good thing. But it's a good thing and a bad thing for you, because you have to be more creative in how you're going to increase that revenue. But the good news is they're already making a ton of money, but they're also going to charge you for it.
Mm-hmm.
So in my experience, though, if you could walk into something that's turnkey, that has a good lease and good equipment, then that's what you want. The ones that Jennifer was looking at in New York, is she on the call, Liz?
She is.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Jennifer. The ones that you were looking at in New York, with the couple that owns the 2 of them, those are amazing. Like they are amazing as long as the price works. But they're great stores with great machines, still under warranty. There's so many good things about it, and there's still potential for more. Like those are, that's what we found here in Cottonwood. Was we found a store that was ugly as sin. It was an ugly duckling. It was ugly as could be. It was like a museum to an old lady who shops at Goodwill for her pictures on a weekly basis. Like that's how her house was decorated. It was just ugly. But there was also, they had so much business that they were falling out of the space they had. So we increased the space they had to hold it. Makes it look a little more professional rather than you walking in and seeing your clean laundry all over the store. So this one was, and their vend rates were only okay, but they could be higher because they needed some more and newer equipment, which we're putting in this summer. So then we can increase our vend rates more. So the more we looked at this place for the price, was like, this is a unicorn store. You don't find these often. So it was a jump all over it. Jennifer's opportunity is really good too. I mean, it's been a few months, so I don't recall the details. All I remember is that if I had the opportunity to buy those stores, I would buy them, right? So back to the multiplier, there's a few factors. It's not all over the place. There are some things that you specifically look at. Length of the term of the lease. What are your vend rates? What does the competition look like? Is there potential are you walking into, so apparently if you walk into a store that has the royal blue and yellow color combination, but it's specifically the royal blue, you're getting a Southeast Asian owner slash builder at one point who either owned or built the store, and that is a color of luck, apparently in that culture, which is why so many laundromats they have that royal blue, and that is a definite opportunity to update the look, right? They're not investing in the aesthetics of the store because they've got what they want, right? So if you buy it from them, it's a blank canvas for you. And a lot of times that kind of stuff makes the biggest difference. Because people want to go where your machines look new. I've had many times people thought we put new machines in just because I painted the walls.
Mm-hmm.
So there are specific things you look for. It is not all over the place, but it is a bit of there's no real formula for it. I think I heard you say a formula. There is no formula for it, but typically it's between 2 and 5x the net.
Okay, thank
and
you.
a 5x
Mhm.
machine, a 5x store is oftentimes not something that you want to buy.
You're looking in the millions of
it's like-
dollars for
yeah,
that.
it's going to be very expensive. It's got all new equipment.
Yeah.
like
It's only a couple of years old.
Yeah.
You've got that's for people who have bought and sold laundromats for a little while and built up to buying something like that. Unless you've got some investors that want to, unless you've got a group of people,
Yeah.
if everybody on this call was like, let's pool our money and do it, then sure, maybe, why not? Right? You got something that's already making money. You got something with a good lease and your machines are new, so maintenance is low. You got warranties on them still. Like, roll the dice, let's go. So it depends on your situation.
Yeah.
But there are specific things about it.
Okay.
Steve and I answer that price similarly to what is your favorite strategy on buying multifamily, right? Some people come in and buy stable property, but we don't. We would rather stabilize ourselves.
Or do you want a value add?
Money. Yeah, so we're kind of more on the value add, or what can we get by with coming in and there's 15 years left on the equipment and just need some repair work, some deferred maintenance. We'll come in and do that over, paying a lot of money for a laundromat that's not going to pay us any cash flow. We love the cash flow of laundromats. Now that's another thing for you guys to recognize too, is that the laundromat space, they depreciate over time. They don't appreciate the way it does in multifamily, right? So multifamily, we're not getting a ton of cash flow. We're getting some, but not a ton compared to laundromats. It's almost nothing compared to laundromats. Steve, what do we do in a month in one of our stores?
For what?
Net, let's just talk about net. That would be like a distribution. Use university because we don't have partners on that. And that's
university
doesn't have another business going on.
Is about it. Well, for the year last year, it made like 100, and I want to say it made 100. I just looked at it. It was like $119,000.
So we made $119,000 last year in one laundromat. It's a good laundromat.
That's profit.
That's net.
Yeah, that was net.
Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but none of you divide that by 12. None of my multifamily is making near that. Right? But where does the multifamily make money that the laundromat doesn't? At the end of the life cycle in 25 years, when the machines are all needing to be replaced and it needs a huge investment, you'll get we paid $110,000 for the laundromat that just paid us $119,000 in 1 year. The price we paid for that laundromat was $110 10 years ago. Okay, it took us a while to get the revenue where it was.
And then I had to immediately had to do $120,000 in dryers. So, and then another $10,000 in deferred maintenance. So all in to get going, and it was only doing $1,500 a week. It was doing $1,200, $1,500 a week in sales. It was doing nothing.
For some perspective on your question, Cara, on the multiplier, we are considering selling that store right now. And what were we going to set the price at, Steve? $450 or $500, and then
no, well, it's not a $500. It's like about somewhere between $425 and $450.
And then we have it needs some maintenance, so we will cut that off the price. So the laundromat we paid $110 for that didn't have well functioning equipment. It was not quite a zombie mat, but it was not doing well.
No, it was not doing well.
We brought it all up. We've replaced some of the equipment. Some of it we have just repaired. We've added some new equipment. And 10 years later, we're looking at selling it for 425. It's not at the end of its life cycle though. If it was, we'd be
No.
lucky to get 100 for it.
And we also put in a lot of money. Like it wasn't, I mean, we've put in, so we're not, it's not like we paid 100, it's not like we paid 110,000 and we're going to see 300 some $1,000 in profit from the 10 years we've owned it. No, we've put in, gosh, there was $125,000 in dryers. There was another $40,000 for 2-load machines. There was another $55,000, $60,000 that we just put in for 4 loads, and then there was another 60, maybe 50 some thousand that we put in for the 8 loads. Not to mention all the
Flooring.
the flooring that was 12 grand. There was all the painting, all the trim work. We're talking. We're not gonna. If I added everything up, we're not gonna make any money on it in equity. Like we're not going to make any money based on what we've put into it. But
it's just been the
I've been cash flowing 100 grand for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So hooray. Like, yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I want to be respectful of time. I don't know where we are in terms of time, but I think that takes me to questions around tax mitigation and any like potential tax strategies that you all employ for laundromats specifically, and if there's any tax law or anything that supports you all as business owners.
You can depreciate your equipment. That's about it.
Okay.
There's not a ton, but you can your equipment depreciates, and that's going to be about it. There's not a ton. You might have some local things as far as energy efficiency for water. You might be able to add solar. Laundromats don't typically use a ton of electricity. They use more gas and water. Water, obviously, number one. Gas is number 2 for your dryers because you never use electric dryers. They're always gas. And then your electricity is typically your lowest of them because your washer doesn't take a ton of electricity to use and your dryers take barely any. It's just to spin the motor. It's to run the motor to spin the drums. Oftentimes the local utilities will have some incentives. Just depends on your municipality, really.
Okay.
From a self-directed IRA perspective, they are considered, just like multifamily, they're considered passive assets. But we all know it's not all that passive, if that makes sense. So, like if we ever go in with, like, let's say on this other deal, if we only had money in my self-directed IRA and Steve was going to be the manager, we can't do that because Steve can't get a carve out on our self-directed IRA. So we can't, because you're not supposed to be working the business, right? So we have talked about, as I'm starting to get more money coming back and when I start selling assets in multifamily, that maybe we'll go buy a laundromat and equipment outright under the self-directed IRA. We will be managing it because you have to, but there would be no carve out. All of the money would just go back into the retirement fund. So it is something that you could get investors to use their retirement money in a laundromat because it's considered passive and it's an okay, as long as you're not getting the carve out and investing your self-directed IRA, it's something that you could play with safely. Any other questions?
Yeah, what else?
We've got a few more minutes. I had until 2:30.
I have till 3.
I think the big question for me is, and Liz, I know you and I talked a little bit about this already with Steve giving some input, I think, to you directly about choosing the right market. And given that this isn't necessarily a remote investment, I live in Chicago, and my understanding is that Chicago is tough. So if there's a high level, understanding of how we should be looking at markets, I would love that information.
Let me look into that a little bit deeper. Chicago, I know is, like I did tell Liz, it is a tough market. You guys have Tide there, who's opening. You guys have Tide. I believe you have Tide. Maybe it wasn't Tide. might have been Speed Queen, but I know that one of the distributors, Speed Queen, is opening stores there. Some places have the Tide. Tennessee, we just saw the Tide bands. You know, these big companies, which is strange to me that the distributors are doing it, but like a company like Tide, like Procter and Gamble, they sell everything that you need to wash clothes. And their next evolution was let's cut out the middleman.
I think
But if
it's
Tide,
really smart to create that full vertical, but it does
is.
make it hard to compete against corporate,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
right, because laundromats for all of history have been mom and pop,
Right.
small business, family owned, and now there's a lot of franchising going on. There's we had a guy that
Private equity.
totally. We had a guy in Texas who I went and met when he was using a software that we were interested in, offered to show it to us. I flew out, I checked it out. Great operation, incredible operation, smart man, like really, but he wasn't passionate about the laundry business. And you kind of could tell, but he's a very smart businessman and he was making a ton of money. But then like I think it was 2U Laundry or something like that came and wanted to buy him out, and he was all about it, and he sold without even, I mean, it was like without blinking. Like, so even though there are those kinds of places, and you can look and you look at their locations, there's a pickup and delivery one called Happiness. We actually started with them back when they were under a different name, and they are like a franchise model kind of, and they have not distributors, they have operators all over the country. So the business is going more towards that corporate venture capital, private equity, that kind of model, and it can be a little hard to compete. So Chicago is like a ground zero for some of this stuff. So let me look into it. Also, my suggestion to you guys, and maybe Liz can if she's friends with you guys on Facebook and whatnot, she can send you the links to the groups, and I'll make sure she has all the good groups. But there's a ton of Facebook laundromat groups, and there's a ton of really good information, like a lot of really good. There's a lot of honesty in these groups. Like we make fun of the TikTok, Instagram guys. Like, oh, you just go and pull your money out of the box and you leave. Like there's a lot of honesty in these groups, and people, if you ask questions, like people don't pull punches. I got kicked out of a group because it was the pickup and delivery thing, and these people delivered they delivered the stuff back. And I honestly, my question was, is this how you delivered it or how you picked it up? And they kicked me out. But this group was a little more sensitive, right? But the groups that I'm in, and I'll make sure that Liz gets the right ones, there's a lot of great information, and a lot of people will tell you how it is. A lot of people that are also negative Nancy's, they manifest poor things happening to them by the way that they speak. They speak a lot of their stuff into existence, right? They don't realize it because they might not be that there in their mindset, but there's still a ton of great information in them. And I think the sooner you get into those, the more you can just start reading and getting involved. And they don't care whether you own a laundromat or not.
I'll also add, Steve, that's how we found our two.
Oh, nice. Wow.
On groups.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that. That's great. Yeah,
That's
see?
cool to know.
And then you can find, you'll find them, you'll find people offering for sale, but a lot of times those guys are, if you're offering in a Facebook group, you shouldn't be having any problem finding a laundromat or finding a buyer these days. Right now, by the way, laundromats are a hot commodity. You want one in Southern California? Not going to happen.
We were helping, I think they stopped looking because we haven't heard from them in a while, but like 3 years. It was interesting because my cousin's in Orange County, and they're in Orange County, LA County, like a couple different places. And so we were seeing laundromats that were coming up. We're like, oh, we already underwrote this with my cousin, but they were looking for multiple years and never found something. So it is you got to just constantly keep your eyes open.
We got lucky with Cottonwood.
Yeah, we got very lucky with Cottonwood. We also acted fast, and so a couple quick things. One is Laundromats are often overpriced. They are pandemic proof. And ever since the pandemic, everybody thinks that they can sell their laundromat for more than what it's worth.
Correct.
And then a lot of times you have these old mom and pop people that they're in their 70s and 80s and they forgot what it means to run a business, and they're trying to get the 4x multiplier on very old machines.
Yep.
And that's a problem. So it's like you can't always get them to make it calculate. It's, and there's less inventory than in multifamily.
Oh.
Another thing to remember is that what we notice has been a really big change in the industry is they want qualified buyers. And when you are you having any problems with leases, Jennifer, or you're not quite there yet?
No, I'm there. Not at all. One location consented to an assignment of the existing lease, which
Nice.
is a 5-year lease. And the
Heck
other
yeah.
I talked to today, and he wants to do a whole new lease at the current terms. But just
They didn't get
we couldn't hear you, Steve. He must be in a bad spot. He has a good question.
The other one we have, we're going to do a whole new lease at the current term and the current rent for the next 5 years. But we are going to
put in. Get them to add some lease terms to that.
What do you mean?
More?
What?
What? We couldn't hear you, Steve.
Yeah, I know. I was saying, I was asking what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Options.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna have the same number of options, except we're gonna be more honing in on at every renewal option what the increase will be based on market, because the current lease doesn't have that. And so the landlord wasn't comfortable signing it. And so we're just honing in on that. Is it going to be a 3% escalation every year thereafter? So we're honing in on that, but it's still going to be a 25-year.
Okay.
Like
I want to make sure that you have a lot of years ahead.
5-year, yeah.
Jennifer, my question was, they haven't given you any pushback on your lack of experience in the industry?
None.
Nice. That's excellent.
I think primarily because, you know, I gave them, you know, our background is being really.
It's not like you guys are nobodies.
But if you are looking because Steve, we're not anybody's either. We're not nobodies either with our portfolio, with our partners. We weren't going into one of those big conglomerates that's got 30, you know, big humongous with the Safeways, like the really big shopping centers. Right? When you're going in there, they're owned by big companies. They required that we guaranteed the loan for 15 years. And if we sold in 5 years, they don't remove us from the guarantee.
Wow.
That is not good terms.
That's crazy.
So we may make a decision in 15 years that we're going to sell because we don't want to be on the guarantee. Like, we might not live here anymore. So like we've committed to 15 years and we may sell close to the end of that period just because we don't want to be on a guarantee for many years when we don't own the business. They gave us a lot of pushback. Steve and I have 12 years experience owning laundromats, multiple laundromats. We've owned 3 before. This one will be our 4th. And our partners, they're commercial real estate investors,
they own
not
strip mall.
multifamily. They own strip malls, and they still gave us a hard time. So the whole concept of a qualified buyer, I use the RFMIA approach to putting together a bio that's about me being an entrepreneur and all of the different stuff that we do, and put pictures of our existing laundromats. Like we put together a whole portfolio to make us look good on paper, and our offer got accepted right out. Like he said, he had 40 inquiries in 48 hours. He saw our offer
from the broker, not the
broker.
That's from the broker.
That was from the broker,
not the landlord.
Yes. And then we used that same information to send off to the landlord, and they just gave us
They pushed
a lot
and
of
pushed
problems.
and pushed.
So that makes it again harder to just be able to go buy a laundromat from a mom and pop, because if their landlord's not mom and pop, it can be harder. But if you have mom and pop landlords, then you're still okay.
Yep.
So that's another area that can make it difficult. So, and then, Steve and I started doing some laundry consulting. If people, need help underwriting, want to look at things to see what's going on. It's $1,000 for 4-hour blocks of time. If we don't use it, Jennifer can tell you she sat idle for a little bit. That doesn't expire. We're not going anywhere. So she's got another couple hours. And if she needs more, we're here to help. And then you know, if anybody is in either a market or the structure is set up in a way, we may jump in on deals with people. We may not always have cash available. And then but we can come in as partners to help manage and
Oh,
answer
totally.
the questions and get you trained. You know, so like our partners although I think they like us, so we're probably going to end up doing more deals with them. But initially, their plan was to go into partnership with us so they could learn how to do it and then do it on their own. And now we have such a great relationship. We're having fun together. It's like, yeah, you'll be on the next one with us, right? We're like, yeah, if we have money, we'll be in it. So we're, you know, it's developed that. So just we're open to, you know, different deals, different structures, different participating. You know, like Jennifer she had all the capital, she didn't need any partners, so we're just helping her out with some consulting as questions come up. And you know, we may not know every single thing about the market, but we all know a lot about market analysis and the questions to ask. The customer service doesn't change, the unit mix and stuff doesn't change. You know, the big thing is learning where your competition is and what's going on, and we'll just tell you to go do that research, and then we'll look at what the results are with it, and we'll jump in and help you guys. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yep.
I do think the most important thing is knowing who can do the repairs and having somebody on your team that is willing to clear drains, learn basic repair stuff. You know, that kind of thing I think is important. Just helps with the bottom line.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, and I do think, Liz, if anybody is thinking about it, to, you know, to re-engage you guys for the mentorship and consulting, because I think that if you're going to put the time and effort and money into something new, then what's a little bit more to make sure that you're not missing anything, to have another set of eyes on anything. Because I mean, in just the 6 months time that we've been working on it, you know, we've learned so much. And I've also, you know, hired, you know, a legal team here to help us with certain things. And it's worth every penny to have people behind you that have your back.
Agreed.
There's things that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And sadly, the brokers don't always have your back. We learned that.
Nope.
The broker that the broker that we used was really good for us, and we recommended him to my cousin, and he gave my cousin horrible advice, and my cousin just really struggled. They never should have bought the place. And then we know another guy, because they hired Steve. This guy was international, wanted to buy a business here so he could emigrate here, and they were from out of town, so they asked Steve to be the management of this, you know, go do the pickups and, you know, the cash pickups and do some different stuff. So we got to know the business. When the guy moved here, we like found out how it was structured. The guy like lost his whole business, lost so much money. The brokers really screwed him.
Oh yeah.
So it was really sad. Like we were like, oh my, I don't know what we did to get lucky that they didn't do that to us. They were very good to us, and but they're not always good. So, you know, you just can't always trust the broker. And even the broker that we used that we bought our laundromat from, this is kind of a crazy story, but we were buying the laundromat. We were trying to do the due diligence the way you do, like we've described due diligence. You get the numbers and you compare the water and you look at the numbers. And she was a very old woman. She was like 81 years old, been doing the business for like 7 years. She needed out due to medical reasons. And she was very stuck in her way of doing things. And we live an hour away. And we said, can we please do collections once a week or even twice a week? But we can't do collections every day. And the two of them concocted a scheme of, we know our numbers really well and we don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is have you guys, we'll put it in the contract that if the numbers don't hit 2 months after, like we'll look at 2 months worth of sales, and if they're low for any reason, we'll give you a credit on your seller's note. So we were like, okay. And then they didn't come.
But if it was above, we weren't going to pay more.
We didn't, you know, no big deal. And they were convinced that the numbers were always going up. Well, it turned into a $49,000 credit. Half of we were paying our last note.
Half of our note.
Half of our note went away because of this really bad deal. She's now trying to sue the broker for bad, you know, but he believed her that the numbers were good. And even we saw the text messages. Yeah. I know my numbers. They don't know what they're doing. My numbers are super steady. And we're like, really?
They weren't,
because we took your numbers, 5 years of data they gave us, and we saw all the spikes going up and down. And we said, this is what you gave us. these are your numbers that we've plotted on a graph, and you can see her numbers have not been consistent. She did not know her numbers well, and he begged us to negotiate. And we decided, no, we're not negotiating. Like he did her dirty. Like we would have negotiated had we done the collection and noticed the difference, and we probably would have negotiated about somewhere in half. But we said nope. It was very stressful. I was worried about it the whole time because I thought they could come after us and we'd have to start due diligence over again. And we made no changes to the business so that for those 2 months,
we
didn't
kept
increase
everything
vendor rates.
exactly
It
the
was
same.
like, I don't want to do that for another 2 months. We're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
So I was worried, and then we found out through the grapevine that she sued her broker for not taking care of her. And that was her broker that we paid him a percent, whatever percentage to. He brokered both sides of the deal. And so, and you know, but we did not feel that they wrote the deal that way. It wasn't our asking. It was extra stressful. It wasn't the normal way of doing things. And here's the numbers. So thank you for a $49,732 reduction in the note.
I appreciate that story of caution because I think, I mean, if I think about getting a broker, I mean, just like in multifamily, you kind of have to advocate and push yourself and know your own stuff. But I also don't know that I would have fully appreciated that, you know, there could be a broker out there who would not be on our side or who would not be as sharp. I just don't know if I would have completely appreciated that fully. So I think that's such an important thing.
Yeah. So
This is where those Facebook groups are going to come in very handy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say, hey, has anybody worked with John
Mhm.
Smith? And man, somebody's gonna have a great experience with him, and somebody's gonna have a bad experience with him.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be happy to tell you about both.
So we're at a place where we don't need a broker on our side. Like we're fine. They're drawing up the paperwork. They've got the broker on their side. That's fine. I think we know enough that we don't need it, but we still paid the guy his percentage, but we didn't feel that he was representing us.
No.
It turned out he really wasn't representing her. He
wasn't representing either of us.
They really believed that what they were offering us was a fair deal, and it was super stressful, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to do it the traditional way, and they refused. So I'm like, okay, win some, you lose some. You guys wrote a bad deal, and
I sleep well at night.
Mm-hmm. So it was sweet, though. Our partners were super excited.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Question. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, sorry, Jennifer. I'm gonna log off, but I have another meeting.
No problem.
Actually with that same team that I just got off with. But I really want to thank you both for giving us the space and time to ask all these questions. I mean,
Absolutely.
I feel like we just learned probably like a month's worth of information otherwise. And super excited for you, Jennifer. I didn't realize that you were already in a potential deal. So that's so exciting.
Thanks. They came back. The people who walked away from our deal never came back.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right. This is how it goes sometimes.
Very quickly, if you decided that you wanted our help, what we need from people, I've got this deal. We need a lease. We want to see what the lease looks like. We want to know what the equipment is and the age of it, both washers and dryers. What else do you need to know, Steve? T12, the expenses.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you need to get started?
Their sale, basically a P&L. A P&L tells me almost everything we need to know.
Okay, so lease terms, expenses, age of equipment, P&L, and T12.
Also, the age and the size of the equipment. So
we need a total machine breakdown from vending machines to irons to change machines to washers and dryers.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You need to know change machines, washers, dryers, any vending machines, either food, soda, soap vending machines. If they have any other equipment like an iron or a press or anything like that, any equipment that they have in the building that would be sold with the building.
Okay.
And you want to know if they're doing any wash and fold or pick up?
Yes. And if their employees are employees, if they're on the books or off the books, because there's some other questions when you get. I question operators who pay people under the table. I question those operators.
Okay. All right, this is awesome. All right, thank you so much.
For sure.
You're so welcome.
Dang it, what did I just do? Judge. I just messed up my notes. I don't know what I did.
Do you need us to repeat it?
I think I can duplicate it really quickly.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm going to do it before I hang up, but I'm going to go on mute
Yeah.
so other folks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, did you have any questions? I know this is kind of the first conversation you've had around laundromats.
It was absolutely the first question I've had, first discussion around it. And there's a lot for me to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit like drinking from the fire hose here today.
Yeah. Well, and also if I were to do this, I'm pretty much on my own. And so then that whole maintenance part of the deal is the one part I'm not quite sure how I would handle that. And so I need to think about that a bit. But in the meantime, collecting information is great. And yeah, I certainly learned a lot about what to look
Also,
for.
too, it might be something your son is interested in learning. You never know.
Maybe.
Because it's not typical work. It's not, I mean, we're running 2 of our laundromats completely remotely at this point, and we go in once a week, maybe twice a week to the one. And like once they're set up, it's not a huge, like the first 6 months, it's very busy. It's very, very busy while you get it set up. And Steve's style, it actually took him almost a year to get all of but it's because we live so far away and had a lot of complications with our time. And it's an hour away, so it's a little harder. But like normally within 6 months, it's up and running and it's no big deal. And you're in once a week, and then with repairs.
So like once it's stabilized, typically about how much time do you spend on maintenance? Like, is that something that I guess it depends on the age of the equipment?
Yeah, I don't want the maintenance piece to scare you. It's not, it all depends on the age of the machines. I mean, it depends a little bit on the use, but mostly on the age. If you have brand new equipment, or with it, like Jennifer's equipment, I believe is pretty new. And she's not going to have any maintenance for a while. And if she does, they're going to be pretty basic. And if you're in a major metropolitan area, you're going to have plenty of people who can do the service. So you're not, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's thousands of dollars a month in maintenance. It's not. It's really not. I mean, you can go 6 months without needing the repairman in there. And if you have if you have 2 machines go down, a dryer and a washer, or a couple dryers and a couple washers, and you have 4 machines down in your whole building, you don't necessarily need to call them immediately. Like, you want to wait until you've got something for them to do, because they're going to charge you a trip charge, and then they're going to charge you by the hour, and they're going to charge you for the parts. So if you can the more that you can get done in that, then you're good to go.
Okay, cool.
It's not, I don't want to make it sound like that it's some detrimental thing to the business. What Liz's I guess Liz's point on it was, the more maintenance you can do yourself, it's pure bottom line money.
Right.
Because you're keeping your own equipment up, which makes your laundromat look better, and you're not paying somebody to do a necessity. So I think that's more her point, is that the more you can do, the more money you can make.
Right.
Like in the year that we've owned this store in Cottonwood, I haven't had a repairman out once. I've repaired everything. I now have 3 dryers. Luckily, we're in our slow season, so I'm not too concerned with it right now. I'm waiting to see if I have a washer that's giving me a little bit of trouble. So I'm waiting to see if it's something I could fix, if I got it right today or not. And if I don't, I'm going to have them come out and repair it, but it's going to cost me a lot of money, because we're really very off the beaten path, right? We're in a small town. We're in a small town, an hour and 45 minutes from Phoenix, and that's where they're coming from. So it's going to cost me some money. So I want to make sure that
Steve needs to go get certified as a maintenance guy.
Yeah,
so we can hit all of northern Arizona. And put those other people out of business.
I could write my own paycheck. If I did that, but I don't want to work like that. So.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Cool. I have to jump, but you'll hear from me, because we're jumping into due diligence soon.
Cool.
Very good. Yeah. All right, well, keep us posted, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks so much,
All
guys.
right, we'll talk to
Bye,
you guys
Jennifer.
soon. All right,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.